Thank you for your introductory remarks. We'd like to start now with some questions, and I will tell you that we'll begin with Mr. Abbott on the very end and work our way down. Would you favor the use of state funds to help finance a new convention center or arena for the city of Bangor or other communities that can demonstrate an economic and community benefit for such a facility?
I would. I think it's critically important that we have a new Bangor arena. The Bangor Auditorium has served us very well for many years, many years. And it's just time for an upgrade, and that we're going to need a new facility there. That's not important just for Bangor. That's important for all of northern and eastern Maine. The amount of commerce that goes through that facility, the amount of entertainment that goes on in that facility, it is just critical to northern and eastern Maine that we have a new facility. I don't think the state funding should be the primary driver behind it, but I think state funding could be a component to get that completed.
Mr. Beardsley?
I believe we ought to not use our bonding issues. We have tremendous needs for roads and bridges and schools. I think we need to be very, very careful and restrictive on how we use our bonds till we get our financials straightened out. I think if the state will take money out of the operating budget to support something like this, I would support it. But in general, I don't think at this point the state can afford spending a considerable amount of money with any metropolitan area on projects such as that.
Mr. Jacobson?
You know, I agree with Steve in terms of the need, but I think it's really interesting to look at what's happened in other cities and other places. Portland, for example, had a big fight just this last fall about the hockey team that almost left, the Pirates. And the owner of the Pirates wanted to buy the facility and rehab it, and we wouldn't sell it to him. I think there are alternative ways. I think that there are exciting ways for the private sector to get involved. Certainly we can incent that activity, but I think we need to think differently. Rather than run to the problem with tax money, let's see if we can't find some private companies that might want to put up an arena. Let's figure out what the deal needs to look like before we go at building arenas again.
Mr. LePage?
I believe there's a need for it, but I also believe that I would bring to Augusta the same model we use in Martin's. We do not build or open a new store until we know we have the money. And I don't think that the current state of affairs in the state of Maine, with $11.6 billion debt, that it is wise to go building arenas when we get complaints every day about losing wheels on our cars because the potholes are so big. So I think I would go along with Bill. I think a priority is roads, bridges, and the state's basic infrastructure before I build new arenas.
Mr. Mills?
With taxpayer dollars.
I'm sorry, excuse me. I'll let you finish that.
That's fine.
Mr.
I'll
Mills?
remember that.
I wouldn't rule out using some state funds for development purposes if it were clear that the city, the county, that private entities, these things are done with many moving parts and with composite funding. And if you had all of the other pieces in place, it seems to me reasonable for the state to chip in. One of the proposals that was put forth several years ago, I think, was for a local option sales tax within the confines of Bangor, the proceeds of which would be devoted or dedicated to such a purpose. I'm trying to remember how I voted in the issue. I think I supported it. Your senator was sitting in front of me, and I'm pretty sure I had encouragement from him. But there are many ways of going at it, and the state certainly can play a role in those things.
Mr. Otten?
I think the state can play a role, but I don't think the state can afford to stand behind the construction of an arena like that at this point in time. I think it's also important to understand that we can't borrow our way to prosperity. We really have to look at the economic value of the institutions that we're looking at. And we're in a point in time, and it may change in 10 years, but we've been in a technical recession for 36 months. We've lost 32,000 jobs. We're going backwards, and right now state government needs to stop spending money, and we need to do a little bit more with what we have before we start building new things.